Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Houston, Texas. It's time for Houston Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Trisha Stetzel here, bringing you another episode of Houston Business Radio. I'm so excited about the guest I have on today. He was born and raised in New Jersey, but he got to Texas as fast as he could. He's a new dad. He and I have known each other for many, many years. And the beginning of that story is I drove all the way across town to catch him for coffee, and we continue to connect and help each other grow our businesses. John Brucato, welcome to the show.
Trisha, how you doing? I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you for having me.
I'm fantastic. I would love to dive into a little bit of the personal side, if that's okay with you, and really tell us, why did you get into business for yourself in the first place?
Yeah. So my family has a history of being employees, right? And my dad had tried to start a business, and things didn't work out. Same thing with my mom, but, they really largely made their careers, as employees. And, that was good in terms of, they had a little bit of stability, but at the same time, they missed a lot of things, right? And I don't hold that against them. They had to do what they could for my sister and I, but, I landed my dream job when I was in college, right? So people sometimes don't even find their dream job after college, right? And I had it, and I loved what I was doing, but I did not like having a boss. He was the kind of boss, and Trisha, I'm sure you could relate to this, that took credit for everything that I did, made as much money as he could off of the work that I was doing, paid me very little, and then treated me very poorly, Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was I wanted to visit my family for the Christmas holidays. This was a couple of years ago. They're still up here in New Jersey, where I am physically right now. And I hadn't seen them in about 18 months, and the Skype, back then it was Skype, right? Skype calls and phone calls, wasn't doing it anymore. And so I wanted to go see them. I bought tickets. I didn't tell them I was coming. I was going to surprise them. The December 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, that was when I was going to go. And, we don't normally work those days at the job that I had. And so I went to my boss and said, hey, Jack, listen, I just want to let you know I'm taking the trip the days I'm going. It's right over the Christmas holiday. We're not supposed to be here anyway. I'm just giving you a heads up. He goes, John, that sounds great, but I said, okay. He goes, John, listen, we're having a multi-million-dollar client come in. The only time he can meet is on Christmas Eve. And I need you here. And this is what he said, Trisha, this is what he said. He said, if you work really hard on Christmas Eve, I'll take my wife on a cruise for New Year's. Yeah, exactly. I thought he was joking. I almost started to smile. He was dead serious. If you work really hard, I'll take my, I'm like, really? Okay. And something in me shifted at that moment. It said, all right, I'm not doing this for the next 40 years. Mm-hmm. And I became a fanatic about finding something else I could do. I got into sales part-time and eventually got into running my own deal. And it's been, an amazing experience the last 7 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've known you almost that long. And since then, and along the way, you've gotten married to a beautiful woman, Erin, and you've had a beautiful daughter, Gianna, who's going to be a year, or just turned a year, actually.
Just turned a year. Yeah.
How has that changed the way you think about being a business owner?
Yeah. So I had maybe I was in business about a year or so, year and a half before I met Erin. And, you could say, I was, single, living life, but I really wasn't. I was so driven to be in business for myself, right? Because you hear stories of people that they sacrifice the first couple of years and they build something, and then when they do have families, they can take their foot off the gas if they want to. They can enjoy some of that stuff, right? And so that was very motivating to me. I just gotten out of a really long relationship, so I wasn't really looking for something else. I just got married to my business. I stopped dating and got married to my business. And then Yeah. And then when I met Erin, by the way, she's the hottest teacher in Katy ISD. And I know someone Katie's going to hear this, and that's okay. You can be wrong. I'm going to be right. So that's
You
the
can be
Jersey in me,
wrong.
right? But no, I'll tell you when we're not on recording, I'll tell you a really funny story about that later. But anyway, when I met her, and we were on our first date, and she asked, "So what do you do, work wise?" I said, "Well, I help people with this, and this." And she goes, "Great, or I've never, met somebody that's a business owner before, other than some of my family members." She says, "Are you making money?" I said, "I'm making enough right now. I'm not really, profitable, but I'm keeping the lights on, right? And we're working through it." And she just bought into my vision day one. We weren't even like that. We had our first date, and she was like, "Cool, this is great. I have no doubt, you're gonna have success, and a year and change later, year and a half later, we were engaged, and she doesn't work alongside me in the business really. She does some back end things every once in a while, but she's been my biggest cheerleader from the moment we met, and we had talked about how 3 to 5 years, we start our family, and that's what happened. We got married, and 3 years later we have, or two and three-fourths later we have our daughter. And let me tell you something. When Gianna was born, I looked at my business and said, you know what? I'm definitely not where I want to be.
Mhm.
Thank God I'm not where I was, because I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff that I've been doing. Listen, I took the whole week off before she came, and like 3 weeks after she was born, I did not work. Didn't make a single phone call, text, whatever. Didn't do none of that stuff. I just got to hang out with Erin and my newborn daughter, and I couldn't do that at a job. There's no way. I know there's some places that do what do you paternity leave, but that's a new thing, right? And most places don't do that. She had her maternity, but there was no way I could have stayed there and did everything that I did if I had a job still. It was that alone, even though our business is not exactly where we wanted it to be, that alone was priceless. And Trisha, you've known me for a long time, so you know how I work. I like to get after it.
Yeah.
I haven't worked half as hard. Honestly, it's funny. My income has grown, but I haven't worked. That's not an income claim, but my income has grown. But I haven't even worked half as hard as I did before she was born. And I get to enjoy I'm the first person she sees every morning. I wake her up. Every single morning I wake her up, and we hang out together for a little while, and then in the evening, almost every night, I'm the one that puts her to bed. And you're going to get a kick out of this. I have Negative Self-Talk and How to Avoid It by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. It's like this thick, as a small book, but it's in her little bookcase in her nursery. I read that to her when I put her to bed, because I'm talking positivity into her life. No, I'm talking positivity into her life, because think about how many times, Trisha, we get negativity even as adults. Imagine that as kids you hear no, 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 no. I'm gonna tell her yes, 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 until I have to tell her no.
Yeah.
So
You got to open up the possibilities for your kiddos, right? Just like you did for yourself. And you're such a driven person. And I think that's what attracts people to you. And they want to be part of your team, and they want to be part of your room, if you will. Who's in your room, who are you hanging out with, because you are so driven. But I have to tell you, my heart grew like 10 times when you said you took 3 weeks off. I was like, wow, John, I just got goosebumps. Like, you did it. You're a dad, and you get to be your best self for your daughter. And I know that Gianna will appreciate what you've given to her in her first year, and even into her second, third, and
she
all the way.
forces me to get better every day. Let me tell you. Let me say, already she forces me to get better every day. I've really learned patience in the last. Erin said that. She said this was, I think, about a month ago or so. She says, you have learned so much humility, so much kindness. And she's like, she said it because she didn't want to, like, get me angry or something. She's like, you're so soft, not soft like weak, but so soft, with her and everything like that. So it's been great. Like, I'm gonna be the dad. Listen, I'm gonna be the dad with my nails painted and a tutu with probably some of my hair cut off or in bows and ribbons and stuff. Whatever it is, I don't care. Whatever she wants to do, we're doing it.
I totally see it. Well, and just as a sneak peek to what John said about his beautiful wife, and her being the hottest teacher in KDISD. It's in his bio. So please take a look at John's bio. You'll get the full story there, or at least
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about business ownership and the freedom that that brings, and kind of the why you left the job, the job,
Yeah.
went into business for yourself. But that why oftentimes is deeper. So
Yeah.
is your why still the same now as it was 7 years ago?
Yeah. So I've been really mulling over that for the last 12 months, like since Gianna was born. Me and Robert, a mutual friend of ours, we talk a lot about that to some people that we're in business with, about, your why has got to be important. What's your why? What's your why? What's your why? And I think that's a commonality amongst all business owners for the most part, right? But the root of my why really was that I wanted to be the one in my family that became the go-to person, right? Where if mom needs a check, I can write the check. If dad can't do it anymore, great. I'll hire 5 people to go out to the lawn and cut the lawn and do the plant and take care of the house, right? If my grandma and grandpa need staying care, I want to be the one that writes the check for that stuff, right? Where Aaron and now Gianna and I can just pick up and go do whatever we want to do when we want to do it and still have money coming in, right? I wanted to be the go-to person, and I wanted to have that. And so I was thinking about, has my why really changed? I don't think the why has changed, but the people in the why have just grown. Does that make more sense? Like, because I didn't even have a relationship when I got started, right? So I didn't have a wife that I was thinking about, or a daughter. But so the why is the same, but the people in the why, I think, have grown tremendously. Even some of my friends that I know, go through hard times. That I didn't have when I got into business for myself. The why got bigger. I don't think it changed, but the people in the why grew.
That makes so much sense. Thanks for sharing that. I've never heard anyone really articulate their why that way, but I think that's true for many of us. It's not that your why changes, it may shift or take on a different name with the people that are growing in your life. So you're a goals guy, you're a growth guy, you're all in, whether it's family or work, and like you're just so driven. I want to circle back to the mindset that you were talking about reading this book with Gianna, right? You're already giving her this growth mindset or this positive mindset at a year old. So, John, what do you do to keep yourself in that positive mindset of growing and reaching your goals and getting better every day?
Yeah, well, the truth, Trisha, is that, and again, being a business owner, it's not perfect all day, every day. Like, I wake up in the morning, I'm fired up, I'm excited, I'm like, I'm gonna make this day, my, what, I'm gonna kill it today. And then about the time I look at my phone, I'm like, oh, those are a lot of fires I got to put out, and this is not good. The ship is sinking. And then an hour later, something awesome happens. I'm like, I'm on the top of the world. This is amazing. I love it. And then 3 hours later, something really bad happens. I'm like, why does this happen to me? This doesn't happen to people that have jobs. It's only a business thing. And then, an hour or two later, I'm realizing, wait a minute, I can just leave when I want to, go surprise my wife for lunch. Thank God I can do that. I can bring her some Starbucks. I can, hang out with some people at her school. And then when I get halfway there, I'm like, oh, problem came up. And, so every second of the day, I'm not that way. Right. And I don't think most people are that way. Even some of the most positive people, I don't think are that way. But what really helps me is the bookends of my day. The way you start the day and the way you end the day. I'm really, really, really intentional about starting my day positive. I don't always and Robert's going to yell at me for this, but I don't always, because I know he'll listen to this. I don't always write out my affirmations or write out my goals. I have a notepad by my nightstand, but I don't always do it. Sometimes Gianna wakes up, she's crying, and I don't remember to get back to do that. Right. But I always start the day off with, thank God I'm here, and thank God I've got my wife and my daughter, and thank God I have the ability to run my own deal. So I start off with that positivity every morning, even if I know that there's fires waiting for me. I just start off with that attitude of gratitude because I could be going to the journey of the broke. I could be a slave to my 9 to 5. I could be in those shackles, and I'm not, right. And I think that's what keeps me so driven, is because if I'm not, that's where I'm going to end up, and that's not an option for me, right. And then on the back end of my day, it's like I want to give the right credit where the credit was due. I think it was Alex Hermosi who said this, and that your day really wasn't as bad as you thought it was. It could be chaos. It could be the most unbelievably bad experience you could have ever had in your life, but your day still wasn't as bad as you thought it was. And when we get to the end and we put our head down on the pillow, hey, I made it another day.
Yeah.
I get to put my head down on the pillow tonight. I still have that say, and then tomorrow I get to wake up and get back after it. So my bookends are really what keeps me going, because I can choose how I start the day, how I end the day. I can't control always what happens during the day, but I can control the start and I can control the finish. And then I like to read. I like to listen to podcasts. And sometimes when I'm having a bad moment, I don't have bad days. I have bad moments. I'll pop on some Art Williams, and he lights a fire under my butt. I love listening to Art Williams. If I want to have an aggressive conversation with myself, I'll put on some David Goggins and realize I'm just being a little, I'm not going to say his expletives. I mean, I normally would, but I want to respect your show, right? But I'll plug into what I need to plug into to keep me moving through the day. But it's really controlling your bookends, the start and the end of your day, really helped me stay in that mindset. I think one last thing about that, Tricia, and Robert and I have been really, really conscious about this. He's been this way for a couple of years now. Only me, I don't even want to embellish. I think the last month, maybe, I've been catching myself speaking things, and then I will out loud say, wait, that's not what I'm thinking. That is not what I believe. I don't accept that. I rebuke that. And I even check my people when they say, hey, you don't believe that. That is not true about you. Don't wear that. That's not yours to wear. Catching those little things.
Yeah, I love that, John. I love the bookends. I think that's fantastic. And I love the idea of going to bed with the thought of it wasn't as bad as you thought it was, right? It's not as bad as you thought it was. It's also important that we realize when we go below the line. So I like to refer to it as victim, right? So in the middle of the day, so I start my day as a victor, and then at some point I fall below the line and I become the victim. But when I realize it, I got to figure a way out, right? Like you said, it's not minutes, it's moments. It's not hours, it's moments. When you realize you got to pull yourself out of that. So as we get to the back end of our conversation today, your story is amazing. You're so driven. It's all about growth. It's all about family. The family you come from, the family that you're building. But I know that you connect so many people and you work with so many people. Do you have a favorite story that you can share?
Ooh, that's good. You know what? It actually involves you. So yeah, I do. Because thinking back to not the immediate origin of my business, but I want to say about 2 years in. So Aaron and I had maybe we were been dating maybe 6 months, and you and I had met relatively recently, and at a networking event. And I'd heard your commercial, and you had mentioned just I don't remember the specifics, but you had mentioned this and about dealing with people. Mm-hmm. And I flagged you down afterwards and say, hey, I've got a big problem, okay, and I want to talk to you about it. And at the time, I had an associate, and her and I were absolute best friends before business. And even in the early part of the business, we were really, 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 really close friends. And something happened where, she has a strong personality. I've got a very strong personality. And like little things started to pile up, and we were really button heads, really, really button heads. And it caused a huge rift, I would say, in our business. And when I had met with you, you had talked about different personality types. And that was really the first time I heard anything like that. I mean, I understand that. Yeah, I would always say, okay, that's your problem, not my problem, right? I am who I
Right.
am, right? And that's so wrong, right? I am who I am. Yes, your problem that you don't like me, right? And just by you and I talking together, I learned about the different personality types, and I learned, wow, I should probably communicate this way to this type of person, and that might either defuse or repair a situation. And you gave me some great advice. You said, look, it's, one relationship can make or break your business. You just say, hey, it's not worth losing your business. No. I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty close to. You can either lose your pride or lose your business. It was one of the more or less that's what you said, and I really thought about it for a second because this person was pivotal at that time in my business. And I said, you know what? I'm going to throw the olive branch out there. And it took us some time, and we repaired that relationship, and we're now best friends. But the reason why I bring that up is because before we had that falling out, Trisha, when I got in business for myself, I was looking to do some hiring, and through a mutual friend of her and I, he introduced us. Again, I knew who she was. I just didn't think, wow, this person should come work with me. I didn't even think that. And he reintroduced us, hired, and we started building our business together. And in the fact that we became really good friends, she pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me to start dating again when I was not ready to do it per se, but she was being coachable to me in business. So I said, all right, I'll be coachable to you somewhere else. Right. And, through push and shove, that's how I met Aaron. I would never have met Aaron if I didn't listen, if I wasn't coachable to her in that area of my life. And even after things had fallen out, if I had never listened to you, if I had never met you and listened to you and tried to repair that relationship, she would have exited the business probably, and that would have been a disaster on its own. But here's the trickle effect from that. She found her spouse a week and a half after you and I had that conversation, and her and I started to make amends. And her spouse is in our business. So if she had exited the business, she would not have met her spouse, who she's now married to.
Wow.
And just a week ago, they announced that they were expecting.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's so amazing.
And when Aaron and I found out we were pregnant, they were the first people that knew about it. They were with us. They were the first people other than immediate family to come check on us and meet Gianna. Her and I have risen to great heights together as friends and business partners. And so coming full circle, if I didn't trust my friend Robert, who's also your friend, enough to come, meet some of his friends, you and I never would have met.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
And if I didn't trust my friend from college enough, I never would have reached out to her and then given her a shot in business. And if I, didn't trust you enough, I never would have repaired that relationship. And if I never had repaired that relationship, she would have exited business and not had the income and the life that she already has. She would never have met her spouse. This baby wouldn't be the blessing that it is. I don't even know if Aaron and I would have worked out, because she's played guidance counselor multiple times when we had our discussions of purpose, right? Our intense fellowship, right? So many things happened from that one relationship. So many things. And thinking about clients that have been helped, thinking about everything you and I have done together, thinking about all the people that you've introduced me to, I've introduced you to, think about the domino effect of that relationship, thinking about this coming full circle, how you and I both know our good friend Tony. And how did that happen? Right? It's because you're involved in one area, I'm involved in another, and we have that mutual friend, right? Just think about the connections for a second. People don't understand that. I really believe people don't understand the value of a relationship. Mm-hmm. And when I say to you, you never know how your one decision to connect with the person could change their life, your life, and then everyone in your contacts' spheres lives. Mm-hmm. It's huge. That alone, I get goosebumps about. So Trisha, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Oh
that
yeah.
I want to say
I
is
feel like
probably
I paid,
the
I
most
feel like
notable thing.
I feel like I paid you to make me feel good today, John. I'm
No, no,
kidding.
no, but Trisha, it's so true. I
Uh,
reference that moment when I talk about pivotal moments in business and relationships. I talk about that story between the two of us all the time. When people ask me what was a decisive moment in your business? What was a pivotal moment in your business? We were sitting in a Kroger Starbucks
we were.
having a conversation and you gave me the little disc sheet and we
Yep.
talked about it. It was a pivotal moment. It's not just because I'm interviewing here with you. That was a pivotal moment of connection in my business where if I had never met you and never had that conversation, I don't know that I would still be in business the way I am now. I don't know that I'd have the relationship with my spouse or even my daughter that I have now. I don't know that, my other associate would have the same. Like I don't know if you know how special that moment was to all of us. And we're very grateful for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, John. And I appreciate all of the connections that you've made for me over the years. And I like to think of it as, and when you were talking about it, reminded me of the pebble on the pond and the ripple
Yeah.
effect that
Mhm.
that one connection or that one stone into the water can make, and all of those ripple effects. And it's not just about business, it's about the people in the business and their families and their families and the effect that we can have. I just got goosebumps all over. John, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so grateful that you took the time. I look forward to coming and talking to you and Robert soon,
Yes.
and having that conversation as well. I will put all of your contact information that you provided in the show notes. So if folks want to reach out and get in touch with you, and by the way, if you're listening, check out the show notes because John's full bio is in there. And so is the little story about his gorgeous wife,
Yes.
Erin. Thank you, John. Again, I appreciate you
Thank
being
you
on.
very much, Tricia. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm privileged to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for today's show. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Houston Business Radio. Until then, stay tuned, stay inspired, and keep thriving in the Houston business community.